Hey, welcome back. We're going to be talking about the FarrowTech PVS-14 adapter for the Sionyx Aurora, which is this thing attached to my head. This is basically a camera that does really well in low light, essentially at night. There's no IR filter on it. And it's got a lens in the back, or a screen in the back, so you can sort of see at night. I've done a previous review video you can find on this, along with all of this mount setup. One of the problems with this is it's got a regular connector that you'd see for a traditional camera tripod, which, yes, can be used with a traditional Rhino mount, and I've got the bayonet and a PVS-14 J-Arm. I've got a previous video that goes through everything that's mounted on my head. The problem is a PVS-14 has some anti-rotation features. It basically has slots that on the 14 that match up with the J-arm and prevent it from doing this. Because as you can imagine, now the screen is no longer lined up with my eye and it doesn't work well. So what FarrowTech, and this is not a sponsored video, I'm not important enough to get sponsored, has done, pull this whole thing off my head, is they made a small adapter so this stops rotating like I just demonstrated. I take this off. And I've not mounted this, so we're about to find out together if it's any good. Okay, so if you look at the PVS-14 connector, you can see we've got the screw goes through there, and you've got this little ridged bump there. And that bump will mate with part of the PVS-14. If we look at the Sionyx Aurora, we have the screw and a little knob, but we don't have that, or little hole, but we don't have that raised bump that would match up perfectly. Like, it works, it just doesn't work perfectly. Enter the FarrowTech adapter, which is this tiny little plastic piece. They sell this piece for $32, so it's an expensive, tiny little plastic piece. Probably an overpriced plastic little piece, but like, you gotta give it to the engineer who designed it. So what you've got is a hole that the screw will go in, that we just saw, the tripod adapter mount. It's got a little bump that matches up with the Sionyx Aurora, and then these little slots on the back that are what would be on a PVS-14 and keep that from rotating when you put it on the J-arm. So, come on over, let's mount it up. Camera down. Okay, let's see if we can get this out. So, on the PVS-14, or excuse me, PVS-14, the Sionyx Aurora, we've got the little hole. And this piece, it's plastic. I'm not sure if it's actually 3D printed. It doesn't feel injection molded, so it's probably 3D printed. But it is better than most really cheap 3D prints I've seen. It's got a slight texture to it. On one side it says, I think it's SI-PVS-14. And on the other side, it says, this is really hard to read, FarrowTech manufacturer. Okay, so on our camera, we're gonna line up the top pin, and hopefully this slides right in. Yeah, slides right in. And now I've got my screw hole and the two little arms. So hopefully I'm not mounting this backwards. I think I'm about to mount this backwards. Let's see, that's the front end. This is the end that goes into my eye, which means the helmet piece there. Okay, let's see if we can screw this in. Okay, there we go. It is tightened. In theory, it doesn't rotate anymore. reality, we've got a little wiggle in here. Let's really crank down this thing. Okay, it's really cranked down, and we still have a little wiggle. Yeah. It still wiggles a little. Not nowhere near as much as before. And that's a thumb knob, and that's as tight as I can get it. And we still wiggle. That's a little annoying. Okay, let's put this back on my head. And yeah, I know I've got a scruffy little beard. I was at deer camp for 5 days, and I didn't shave beforehand, so it's like a week's growth. Mount it. Okay. Now I don't have a counterweight, so this feels a little funky, but it does align it in front of my face. I'm not sure if this thing's actually charged. Let's see if we can turn the power on somewhere. Okay, I think I need to charge this. Yeah, I do. Okay, so I gotta recharge this, but it does seem to now be in front of my eye, and it doesn't wiggle as much as before, but I mean, this, if I hold my helmet, you can see there's some wiggle in here. Actually, that's the J-Arm itself twisting left and right. It's got just a tiny bit of wiggle. Much improved. So I would say if you're planning to mount one of these Sionyx Aurora, basically cameras, to your forehead so you can see in the dark when there's good moonlight, this definitely improves things. Is it a complete game changer? Not really. Like, I've never had a time where I was wearing this thing, testing it out, where it got bumped from the side and misaligned. So yes, it definitely could happen if you're doing more energetic things than I am. It's more likely to happen to you than it is to me, but at the same time, like, you still have a little bit of play in here. For 32 bucks, I don't know, it could go either way. I think most of the Sionyx Aurora things fall into that category. Like, really depends on your use. Like, if you're using this to play airsoft at an event where absolutely no one else has night vision, this makes you God at night, sort of. If you're using this to play someplace like Milson West, where everyone's got PVS-14s or dual tubes, PVS-31, I think, then this is kind of a joke, and this won't keep up. Though it is better than nothing, sort of. And this little 32-piece adapter, when you consider the rest of the cost of this rig, I've got a $200 and something helmet. I think they're actually going for close to $300 for the ACH. And then the shroud, little gold thing. Take it apart. I was lucky to find that at a surplus store for like 20 bucks. Which is an amazing deal. And then you need a Rhino mount, which new's 150 bucks used. I think you can get them eBay. Last time I looked, they were like 50 to 60. It was Rhino 2. It is worth spending extra money for the Rhino 2. The Rhino 1s, you get lots of Chinese knockoffs. Plus, they're made out of steel instead of titanium, so there's a big weight difference. And then you need a J-Arm from PVS-14, once again, buy used on eBay. Potentially that $32 FarrowTech. Lens protectors. These are 3D printed. I don't even remember who made them. And then the camera itself, which I think I got this camera for about $300. I have to double check my notes. Used. new. I think they're $400 to $500. So it's kind of an expensive system for what it is. And $32 FarrowTech adapter, you know, it's not huge, but it also doesn't make a huge difference. So yeah, if you're after one and you got $32 to burn, go for it. As of the time of this recording, when I ordered that, they had free shipping. About a month ago, it was $8 shipping and made it $40. So free shipping's always good if it's still up.